Good morning, first grade Falcons. It's Miss O'Sullivan here. I've missed seeing you in class, so I thought I would video some lessons so that you can still see my face and we can still stay connected. So we've been working on data and looking at different categories and answering some questions. And so let's look at our learning goal for today. Our learning goal is to understand graphs help us represent and interpret data. Our success criteria, we can represent data in like categories and use addition and subtraction strategies to interpret the data. So I took some data of my house, things that I had in my house. I have two little boys, Sunny and Jack, as you guys know, and we have a lot of sports equipment. And so we have a lot of footballs and basketballs and frisbees, but I was wondering just how many. And so once I went around and I counted all of our footballs in our house, I found out that we have 9 footballs in our house. And then I went and I thought, well, how many basketballs do we have? And then I counted and I found that we have 7 basketballs in our house. And then frisbees, I found out that we only have 2. We don't use frisbees as much. Or Morty's just eating them all. He's my dog. Anyway, so now I've represented my data on a bar graph, but now I want to interpret it. I want to kind of think about how many more, what's the most, and that's what we do when we interpret data. So my first question I have is, how many more footballs do we have than basketballs? Now we know when we are reading a story problem, we know that we have to read it at least twice to understand what it's really asking us, right? You know that, Falcons. So let's read it again and we're going to underline that important information. How many more footballs do we have than basketballs? Okay. So I know I need to figure out how many footballs I have. I have 9. Okay, and how many basketballs again? Oh, that's right, we have 7. Okay, so now how many more footballs do we have than basketballs? I have to remember my addition and subtraction strategies here. And I might need to put it into an equation that makes sense so that I can use a strategy to figure out the answer. So I'm going to think about it, and I think that how many more footballs, which is bigger, do we have than basketballs? So 7 plus something equals 9. That's my how many more. So I know that we have some addition strategies we could use. And I don't need to start at 0, because I know we already have 7 basketballs. But I need to know how many more is that than the footballs that I have, which is 9. So I think I'm going to count on. If you were thinking that, you were right. So 7, 8, 9. That's when I stop. I counted 2. So I have 2 more footballs than basketballs. I answered my question. Some of you are thinking you can also do subtraction, which is totally true. I could also take my number of footballs and subtract my number of basketballs, and I can use my fingers or I can count back. A couple of different subtraction strategies we've tried on. So 9 take away 7. So I know if I put up 9 fingers and I took away 7, I have 5, 6, 7. I have 2 left over. So 9 take away 7 is also 2. Remember, addition and subtraction are opposite. You can use both of them. Sometimes it's going to be a missing addend, or you can turn it around and use a subtraction equation as well. You get the same answer, right? Both of our answers were 2. 2 more footballs. All right, my next question. How many fewer frisbees do we have than basketballs. I gotta read it twice, right? You know that, Falcons. How many fewer, when I think of fewer, I think of less, Frisbees do we have than basketballs? So I'm thinking about my Frisbees and my basketballs. Let's see, I have 7 basketballs and I had 2 Frisbees. Okay, I'm gonna put it into an equation again so then I know what I'm solving for. So fewer Frisbees than basketballs. So that's my bigger number. And I wanna know how many fewer. So if I were to take away my number of Frisbees from my number of basketballs, that will tell me the difference. Remember when there's that difference, it's subtraction, right? So 7 take away 2. So again, if I had 7 and I took away 2, I have 5 left. I can also count back. 7, 6, 5. So I could also count back either mentally or using my fingers. So 7 take away 2 is 5. So I have 5 fewer Frisbees than basketballs. I could also do an addition equation, couldn't I? For those of you who like addition. I could also say, I have 2 Frisbees. What would I have to add to my 2 Frisbees to have the same amount of basketballs, which is 7? So I could count on from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 5 again. Because again, addition and subtraction are opposite. So you can use either one, whichever one makes more sense to you, okay? So now I've really interpreted my data and I can make some statements about the types of sporting equipment in my house, right? So I can definitely say that I have 2 more footballs than basketballs. I can also say for sure that I have 5 fewer Frisbees than basketballs. So Falcons, you have an assignment in Seesaw that asks you to do some questions that are very similar to this. Remember to use a strategy that makes sense to you, and you can write it down on paper if that helps you to make sense of the problem, or ask an adult, or you can always Google Meet with Ms. Whitaker or myself. So you have this assignment in Seesaw, as well as some fact practice in Freckle this week, the next 2 days anyway. So for Monday and Tuesday. I miss you guys, and I know I see a lot of you online practicing your math and continuing to grow as mathematicians, so great job. Take care, and I will see you again soon on this video.